Country music has just lost one of its brightest and most enduring stars. But what truly happened in Jeannie Seely's final days has left fans devastated, heartbroken, and full of questions. A Grand Ole Opry legend is gone at the age of 85, and what surfaced during her funeral shocked even those who knew her best. This wasn't just a routine goodbye, it was an emotional farewell layered with revelations. Stick with us, because the tribute you didn't see on television revealed far more than anyone ever expected. Jeannie Seely was never just another name in the world of country music. She was the voice, the grit, and the very soul of the Grand Ole Opry for more than half a century. Her sudden passing at 85 has left fans, colleagues, and even seasoned country music historians scrambling to piece together the final chapter of her extraordinary life. In this story, we're diving deep into the untold truth behind Jeannie Seely's final days. Her emotional farewell at the Opry and the hidden details her funeral tributes revealed, details the media barely touched. Legacy shook the country music community. What surprising voices came forward after her death, and the controversial choices made during her funeral that have left fans divided. This isn't just another tribute-tites the behind-the-scenes story you haven't heard yet. You won't believe who unexpectedly showed up to honor her, or who chose not to. And as you'll soon see, there was one message delivered at her funeral that stunned the entire audience into silence. To fully understand the depth of this loss, we must first remember who Jeannie Seely truly was. Born in 1940 in Titusville, Pennsylvania, Jeannie grew up surrounded by the simple harmonies of traditional country music. But she also carried within her a fiery determination that refused to be confined by the boundaries of a small town. By her early 20s, she had packed her bags and moved to Nashville, chasing the same dream that millions pursued but very few ever caught. Jeannie Seely caught it. Her breakout moment came in 1966 with the release of Don't Touch Me, an emotionally charged ballad that would define her career and reshape how the female voice was heard in country music. At a time when women were often dismissed or pushed aside, Jeannie stood tall with bold lyrics, heartbreaking vocals, and an undeniable stage presence. She quickly became known for her sharp wit, her signature blonde hair, and most of all, the raw honesty she brought into every performance. It wasn't only her voice that made her unforgettable. In 1967, Jeannie became one of the youngest women ever inducted into the Grand Ole Opry. From that moment on, she dominated its stage for more than 55 years. Jeannie wasn't just another performer. She helped shape the very culture of the Opry. She broke ground as the first woman to regularly host segments of the show, advocated for gender equality backstage, and spoke her mind even when it ruffled feathers among the old guard. "They call me the see you later girl," she once joked, "because I never stick to what's expected." Even as the decades rolled on, Jeannie's presence never dimmed. In her later years, she mentored up-and-coming stars, collaborated with icons like Willie Nelson and Bill Anderson, and remained one of the most stylish, commanding figures on stage. To fans, she was family. To the Opry, she was a foundation stone. To generations of women in country music, she was a trailblazer who never stopped fighting for their place. Yet as we'll soon uncover, even icons carry hidden battles and Jeannie's final months were marked by a private struggle that few saw coming. For so long, Jeannie Seely appeared vibrant and unstoppable. But in her final year, subtle changes began to emerge. Once clockwork appearances at the Grand Ole Opry grew less frequent, fans began noticing her legendary energy seemed slightly quieter, her voice still smooth but less forceful, her schedule thinner than before. She looked tired, one fan recalled after her final Opry show, like she was holding something in something she wasn't ready to tell us. That last public performance was unforgettable, though most didn't know its true meaning at the time. On a warm April evening, Jeannie Seely stepped onto the Opry stage, wearing a shimmering blue gown. She looked radiant, though clearly exhausted. She sang one of her signature ballads. "Can I sleep in your arms tonight?" Her voice cracked not from error, but from emotion. When the final note drifted into silence, she didn't bow and leave the stage as usual. She stood still, soaking in the moment. Many now believe it was her silent goodbye. Behind the curtain, Insiders say Jeannie had been quietly battling a chronic illness. Friends hinted at long-term respiratory issues, possibly COPD or related complications, though specifics were never confirmed out of respect for her privacy. Bill Anderson later revealed she had told him, "I want people to remember me singing Not Sick in a Hospital Bed." That one line revealed everything about who she was: proud, strong, and committed to her art above all else. Looking back, there were signs. In January, she canceled a planned appearance at the Country Music Hall of Fame. In February, her publicist vaguely cited travel fatigue. By March, her social media, once lively with Opry promotions and personal notes, went silent. A fan's grainy cell phone video showed her briefly losing balance on stage, smiling it off and carrying on. In hindsight, it was a warning few recognized. "She wanted to go out on her own terms," said Marty Stewart in his tribute. And she did, strong, proud, and standing in the circle. But perhaps the most heartbreaking part came after her passing. On the morning of July 22, 2025, the world awoke to the devastating news. Jeannie Seely, lovingly known as Miss Country Soul, had passed away peacefully at the age of 85. What stunned people wasn't only the fact that she had died, it was how quietly it was announced. There was no dramatic Opry tribute, no sweeping fanfare, no immediate public ceremony, just a short, somber press release from her longtime publicist. Jeannie Seely passed away peacefully in her sleep at her Nashville home, surrounded by family. The statement was simple to simple. Many fans felt for a woman who had given her life to country music, a woman who lived and breathed the Opry. For some, the understated announcement felt jarring. It's almost unfair, as if her unmatched contributions deserved something far greater. A strange silence fell over the Grand Ole Opry in the hours following the announcement of Jeannie Seely's death. Something didn't feel right. The Opry's official website made no immediate mention of her passing. In fact, her name was still listed in the upcoming performers section, as if nothing had happened. Fans who had admired her for decades quickly flooded the Opry's social media pages with confusion and even anger. Their comments were filled with disbelief. "Why isn't the Opry saying anything? She gave you 55 years. This silence is disrespectful." It took nearly 12 long hours before the Opry finally broke the silence with a formal statement. The message read, "Today we mourn the loss of a legend." Jeannie Seely was the heart and humor of the Opry family, and her absence leaves a void we cannot fill. Although heartfelt, the statement didn't land the way they hoped. Many felt it came far too late, as if the Opry had fumbled in honoring one of its brightest stars. Speculation began swirling online almost immediately. People wondered, was her passing expected? Was there tension behind the scenes? Or had the delay been caused by disagreements over how her legacy should be honored? While no official rift was confirmed, whispers in Nashville hinted at long-standing creative differences between Seely and certain Opry executives regarding the treatment of traditional country artists. One Nashville radio host summed up the public sentiment in a tweet: "Jeannie Seely was the Opry. If they fumbled her tribute, they fumbled history." But then something extraordinary took place the night the Opry went silent. Just 3 nights later, the Grand Ole Opry staged a performance unlike anything it had ever hosted. There was no light-hearted opening banter, no sponsor mentions, no familiar introductions. Instead, a single spotlight shone down on the famous wooden circle at the center of the stage. Out of the shadows walked a string quartet, who began to play the haunting opening melody of "Don't Touch Me," Seely's most iconic song. The arena fell into complete silence. Then, out of the speakers, came her own voice, recording from one of her past live performances. "When you feel like crying, sing. When you're scared, sing louder." The crowd rose to their feet. Some wept openly, others closed their eyes in reverence. For many, it was the most moving moment the Opry had delivered in decades. The tribute continued with a surprise no one saw coming. Country legend Reba McEntire, who wasn't scheduled to appear, walked onto the stage dressed entirely in black. With tears streaming down her face, she performed a stripped-down acoustic version of "Can I Sleep in Your Arms Tonight?" When she finished, she didn't give a speech or introduction. She simply looked out at the audience and said, "She raised us. She raised this stage, and tonight we sing for her." Just days later, Nashville was shaken again by the funeral that stunned the entire music community amid. Jeannie Seely's private funeral was held at the historic Ryman Auditorium, the very mother church of country music where she had performed for decades. The service was not open to the public, but clips and descriptions soon surfaced online. True to her personality, Jeannie had made it clear she didn't want a traditional service. There would be no closed casket, no black suits, no gloomy atmosphere. Attendees were instead instructed to come dressed in boots and rhinestones, and many honored her wishes. Inside the Ryman, Dolly Parton appeared through a pre-recorded message, unable to attend in person for health reasons. Her words carried both love and grief. "Jeannie wasn't just my sister in song. She was my truth teller, my partner in sass, and my voice of reason in a crazy business. I'll see you again, darling, and we'll pick it up right where we left off." Another emotional moment came when a letter from Loretta Lynn's family was read aloud. It revealed that Jeannie had been one of Loretta's final visitors before her own passing in 2022. The two had made a pact together to hold the door open for the next generation of country women. Those words, "hold the door open," were printed on the back of the funeral program. Beneath the years of her life, Jeannie Seely, 1942-2025. Shortly after the funeral, a never-before-seen photograph was shared on Jeannie's official Instagram account. It showed her sitting alone on the Opry stage just hours after her final performance. She wasn't smiling. She was simply looking out at the empty seats, as though saying her final goodbye. The caption read, "Every note, every word, every night, I loved you back." Fans flooded the comments with heartbreak, gratitude, and memories. Many reposted the photo with her same words, echoing "she loved us back." But even after her funeral, the story didn't end there. In fact, her passing sparked a wave of tributes, conversations, and conflicts that are still unfolding. In the country music world, one of the biggest revelations came just a week later. Jeannie's longtime producer and estate executive, Don Cusk, confirmed a rumor that Nashville insiders had whispered about for years. She had left behind a full vault of unreleased recordings. Plans were already in motion to create a posthumous tribute album built around those vocals. The album, tentatively titled One Last Song, will include duets with Vince Gill, Alison Krauss, Willie Nelson, and Kelsey Ballerini, many of which had been recorded years earlier for a legacy project Jeannie hoped to release on her 85th birthday. Now, the project will become her final gift to fans. And music historians are already calling it one of the most significant releases by a female country artist since Patti Cline, but her legacy also sparked new controversy. For decades, Jeannie Seely was the only female artist regularly hosting, introducing acts, mentoring newcomers, and injecting humor into the Opry stage. With her gone, a difficult question now lingers. Who takes the circle? Insiders say Opry. Executives are divided about who, if anyone, should step into her shoes. Names reportedly under discussion include Ashley McBryde, admired for her storytelling; Lainey Wilson, who often referred to Jeannie as her country mama; Rizzy Palmer, a strong advocate for women of color in country music; and even Casey Musgraves. Though her relationship with the Opry has been complicated over the years, yet fans are torn. Some say Jeannie can't be replaced. Don't rush to fill her shoes. Let them sit empty for a while. Others argue that the Opry has a rare chance to honor her legacy by elevating underrepresented voices, just as Jeannie herself always did, adding to her lasting influence. Jeannie's estate announced the creation of the Jeannie Seely Foundation. For women in country music, the nonprofit will provide scholarships, mentorship, and advocacy for young female artists struggling to find their place in Nashville. The foundation will officially launch at the 2025 CMA Awards, where Jeannie will be posthumously honored with a Lifetime Impact Award. Trisha Yearwood is set to present it, with a massive tribute performance planned featuring Carrie Underwood, Anana Judd, and even a holographic duet with Jeannie herself. To truly understand why her story resonates beyond music, you have to recognize who Jeannie Seely was. She was more than an artist. She was a force. She always spoke her mind. She didn't wait for permission to join the table. She built her own. She broke Opry dress codes in the 1970s. She wrote about desire, heartbreak, and independence long. Before it became trendy, she mentored rookies, celebrated legends, and kept everyone laughing, even when her own life was in turmoil. In one of her last interviews, she reflected, "If I leave behind one thing, I hope it's this, that it's okay to be exactly who you are even if it ruffles feathers. Even if you sing a little off-key, sing anyway." Jeannie Seely's story is not just a tribute to her life. It is a reminder of the power of authenticity, resilience, and grace. In a music industry that sometimes forgets its roots, she stood as a living bridge between the past and the future, the legends and the newcomers. And now, it is up to all of us fans, musicians, and storytellers alike to carry her flame forward.